Flamin' Hot Cheetos are one of America's favorite snacks. They alone earn Frito-Lay almost $1 billion annually. The inventor of Flamin' Hot Cheetos is Richard Montañez. Because of his invention and meteoric rise within the company, he now has a net worth of over $14 million. However, for Montañez, things weren't always easy. He was one of 10 kids, and he dropped out of school in the 4th grade. He worked as a laborer, and at the age of 18, he became a janitor for Frito-Lay. So how exactly did Montañez go from being a janitor to inventing the world-famous Flamin' Hot Cheeto? Richard Montañez is a son of Mexican immigrants. He grew up in a migrant labor camp in Guasti, California. For years, Richard and his 10 siblings lived in a single-bedroom apartment. He and his family picked grapes for a living, although it made them hardly enough money to get by. At school, he was an outcast. On most days, he begged his mother to let him stay home since he wasn't like the other kids. Everyone else spoke English, but he could hardly even speak a word. There were 2 types of buses that took students to school. One was yellow and took the majority of kids. The other was green, and that bus took poor Latino immigrants like Richard. He always asked his uncle why he had to get on the ugly green bus instead of the yellow one like all the other kids. Even though he didn't know what segregation was at the time, Richard could sense it from the differences between him and the other kids. When his mom packed him burritos for lunch at school, he would beg her to pack a bologna sandwich just like the other kids' mothers did for them. When he brought his burritos to the cafeteria, everyone would stare. Burritos weren't common in America at that time, and they made Richard even more of an outcast. After Richard continued to ask for a different school lunch, his mom made a smart move. Instead of packing just 1 burrito, she packed 2. This way, Richard would have one to share with someone at school during lunch. Soon after, Richard's burritos were a huge hit in the cafeteria. They became so popular that he ended up selling them to the other kids for 25 cents each. In 4th grade, he still had trouble picking up basic reading and writing skills, so Richard made a decision that would change his life forever. He dropped out of school. To make ends meet, he worked a few different labor jobs, like slaughtering chickens and doing landscaping work, but his life changed forever when he was just 18. His friend told him that Frito-Lay was hiring at their plant in Rancho Cucamonga, so Richard immediately went ahead and applied for the janitor position. He still lacked critical reading and writing skills at that time, so he had his girlfriend fill out the application for him. He sent in his application, and he was hired that same day. Montañez worked his janitor job at a Frito-Lay factory, doing exactly what he was supposed to: mop the floors, clean the toilets, and keep the facility sanitized. He worked super hard to make sure that every room was as clean as possible. At the supermarket, Richard noticed that all of Frito-Lay's products were very plain. Take for example Lay's potato chips and Fritos. In his opinion, none of them had any spice to them at that time. He realized that Frito-Lay was missing out on connecting with a huge portion of the market, the Hispanic population. While on his way home, Richard noticed a street vendor who was selling Mexican grilled corn covered in chili and lime, called elote. He realized that it was such a popular food in the Latino community, so why not apply those same flavors to the Cheeto? One day, something happened at the factory that presented him with a golden opportunity. One of the machines in the assembly line broke. Because of the breakdown, a batch of Cheetos wasn't dusted with the usual orange cheese powder. That night, Montañez took the plain undusted Cheetos home to experiment with. When he got home, he coated his plain Cheetos with cheese powder, but he also did one extremely important step. Taking inspiration from his roots and the street vendor from earlier, he added chili powder to the Cheetos. After he was done, he invited his friends and family to taste his new Cheeto recipe. Their response? They loved it. Montañez knew his creation was something special, and he was onto something. Roger Enrico was the CEO of Frito-Lay at the time. His philosophy was that he wanted all the employees to be owners, and he wanted them to act like owners, something he expressed in a message he sent company-wide. Most of the workers just brushed it off as a cliché message, but Montañez took it to heart. With his newly created Cheeto recipe, he decided to call the CEO. When the secretary picked up the phone, she asked what division he was with. When Montañez replied with California, she asked if he was the vice president overseeing California. When he told her he worked at the Rancho Cucamonga plant, she asked if he was the VP of operations. She continued asking questions until eventually he told her the truth, that he was a janitor. But she put him through to the CEO anyways. When the CEO heard Richard's idea, he loved it. He wanted Richard to prepare a presentation, and he told him that he'd be out at his plant in 2 weeks. And Richard's story quickly spread throughout the company. Everyone at Frito-Lay wanted to know who was this janitor that called the CEO. Finally, the plant manager confronted Richard, and he was actually upset. Roger Enrico, the CEO of Frito-Lay, was coming to their plant, and it was all because of Richard. With the CEO coming in just 2 weeks, Montañez went to a library and gathered as many books as he could find on marketing and packaging. He still had difficulty communicating in English, so he read and studied as much English as possible so he could create an effective pitch. He also got his wife's help in creating a unique new packaging for the new Hot Cheetos. And just to make sure he was taken seriously, he bought a $3 tie to wear during the presentation, something that was almost all he could afford at the time. When the big day came, Montañez walked into a room filled with Frito-Lay's top executives. He had no clue that he was about to pitch an idea that would eventually earn the company billions of dollars. At one point during the presentation, one of the company's executives asked him how much share of the market Richard thought he could capture with his idea. Richard had no idea what he was talking about. He responded by extending his hands far apart from his body to show a big amount. The room went silent, but CEO Roger Enrico intervened with a smile and extended his arms just like Richard. He told his fellow colleagues that this was a huge opportunity and that there was a huge market to go after. It's safe to say that the executives were impressed with Richard's presentation and his vision. Richard's life took a remarkable turn after his pitch. Rather than shutting him out for lack of a proper education and speaking skills, the executives at Frito-Lay applauded him. However, not everyone was happy with Richard's new creation. In an interview with the Passionate Few podcast, he recalls that some of the executives didn't want his idea to succeed. That's because they were paid a lot of money to come up with creative new product ideas. And then there was Richard, who was just a janitor in their eyes, completely showing them up in front of the CEO. Frito-Lay tested the new Hot Cheeto creation in a few small Latino communities in California. The response was overwhelmingly positive. The Hot Cheetos flew off the shelf and people were demanding more. They were a resounding success and Flamin' Hot Cheetos were ready to hit the world on a global scale. After a few years of development, the new Cheeto flavor finally hit the market in 1992 under the official name Flamin' Hot Cheetos. As predicted by their market testing, it was a success. Because they were so popular, Frito-Lay released similar Flamin' Hot Cheetos products. They released Flamin' Hot Cheeto Puffs in 1999 and Extra Flamin' Hot Cheetos in 2008, just to give a couple examples. Today, Flamin' Hot Cheetos have become a cultural phenomenon. People on social media create challenges revolving around Hot Cheetos. For example, there's the challenge to see who can eat Flamin' Hot Cheetos in the fastest time. They've become so popular with the younger generation that they're actually banned by some schools. Why would such a popular snack with such an inspiring backstory get banned in schools? There are actually a few reasons why. First of all, many schools are now promoting healthier eating, so they're now staying away from feeding their students junk food. Flamin' Hot Cheetos aren't an exception. They have very poor nutritional value, and kids are typically eating much more than the recommended serving size. Each serving contains 39 grams of fat and has many different artificial additives. There are some other health drawbacks too. It's not uncommon to experience chest or bowel pain after eating too many Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Rapper Lil Xan was actually hospitalized after eating too many Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Another reason why Flamin' Hot Cheetos are banned in many schools is because of the red dust powder that coats them. It's no surprise that if you have a lot of young children who are eating Hot Cheetos, the dust will just get everywhere. One big factor that makes Flamin' Hot Cheetos so addictive is the ingredient capsaicin, which is naturally found in hot chili peppers. This is what makes the Cheetos hot and spicy. When capsaicin enters our body, we perceive it as sort of burn. To counter this feeling, our brains release neurotransmitters called endogenous opioids to make us feel better. Once we stop eating capsaicin, we stop producing the endogenous opioids that make us feel good. So technically, being addicted to Flamin' Hot Cheetos is actually a very mild sort of natural opioid addiction. So what's the future for Flamin' Hot Cheetos? Today, they're still insanely popular. Frito-Lay is releasing more and more variations of the snack. People are embracing them and putting them on all different kinds of food. The Bagel Nook, a bagel shop in New Jersey, actually makes bagels using Flamin' Hot Cheetos. They even suggest you eat them with Cool Ranch cream cheese because of how spicy they are. It's also not uncommon for people to use crushed Hot Cheetos dust as a substitute for breading when making wings or fried chicken. Using it as a topping for pizza is also another popular choice. But the strangest story involving Flaming Hot Cheetos has to be when one single Cheeto sold for $99,900 because it looked like Harambe. A man from Burbank was eating a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos at work when he noticed a Cheeto that looked like the internet-famous gorilla. The bidding started at $11.99, and eventually the Cheeto received over 130 bids. But the real question is, did the winner actually pay up?